Find your way to your seats so we can get started with tonight's program. All right, we do have a special presentation tonight. This is our annual Board of Education Teacher Recognition Night, and it's going to be certainly a very special night. We have 7 outstanding recipients of the district teachers, the building teachers of the year, and then of course a very special district teacher of the year. So we have a wonderful night planned. I do want to let everyone know, obviously we have another, during the business portion of the agenda, we have a vote on armed security. That's obviously generated some discussion. So we, of course, as we're always transparent, we'll hear from as many people as want to speak. So it's orderly. We're going to start with the Teacher of the Year presentation. Once we do that, we're going to break for about 5 minutes or so. If you would like to speak on the armed guard portion, please come up and speak to our district clerk, Ms. Regina Caliendo. Please, Regina, and tell them your name, and we'll put you on the list so that we'll then call you up to speak. Obviously, anyone that wants to speak, we will hear from you, but so that it's orderly, please, once we break after Teacher of the Year, come up to see Ms. Caliendo to put your name on the speaker list. Okay? With that, we will get started, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Please remain standing. As Mr. Ciapetta just said, our Simpson Singers, under the direction of Mr. Emilio Rovolino, will sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
At this time, it's with great pleasure that I introduce a member of the Walt Whitman High School Jazz Band, Anthony Maraboli, who will perform Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin. So Anthony, my daughter has this keyboard in the basement. I was wondering if you're free Saturday mornings, you could help out with that a little bit, because it does not sound anything like that when she plays. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Another round of applause for Anthony, our Stimson singers today. Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, members of the Board of Education, my fellow administrators, teachers, families, and community members. I would like to officially welcome you to South Huntington's Teacher of the Year celebration. Before we begin, I'd like to thank my friend and colleague, Ms. Joanne Padilla. Tonight she was running boxes in and out in the pouring rain, so your dedication to your job is just so appreciated. I want you to know that. I'd also like to thank Liz DeMonte and also Thomas Ciervo from South Huntington's Public Relations team for their hard work preparing tonight's presentation. And finally, a special thank you to the 7 educators we are here to honor this evening. I'm truly humbled to share this space with each one of you tonight. Please join me in a round of applause for all of them. Although we are here tonight to recognize each one of you, I look at tonight as an opportunity to celebrate the hard work and dedication of all our teachers. In a world where it seems easier and easier to disconnect rather than connect, teaching stands as one of the few professions that still has the ability to make lasting impact on our collective future. Sometimes, for moments like this, you get some strange inspiration from different spots, and last Saturday that happened to me. I found myself getting sucked into an episode of Hard Knocks in season with the Arizona Cardinals on HBO. And there's a reason, I promise. For those of you that have never seen an episode, the series is a behind-the-scene glimpse that follows an NFL team from preseason camp to their last game. What caught my attention was their defensive end of their team, J.J. Watt, who officially hung up his cleats last week in their final game of the season. During the episode, there was a moment where he addressed his retirement with his team. He did not discuss his impact on the game. He did not discuss the number of sacks he had. Believe it or not, he did not discuss football at all. To quote him, "I just hope I passed on enough knowledge and I passed on enough things in the community that somebody else passes it on. We've created a small chain reaction and a ripple effect that hopefully in some small way changes the world." Perhaps this is something we should all strive for each and every day, making the world just a little bit better than the day before. At that moment, I began to think about the teachers we are here honoring tonight. There is no doubt that each one of them has created a ripple effect in our South Huntington community, where their passion for teaching has had a lasting impact on not only the students they teach, but also their colleagues. Jessica, Ivia, Deanna, Joe, Shaka, Jen, and Crystalia are all difference makers and are truly deserving of the recognition they're getting tonight. To all 7 of you, though, please promise to keep making ripples. Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Suffolk County Legislator, Mr. Tom Donnelly.
So good evening, everybody. Just by way of introduction, my name is Tom Donnelly, and I represent the South Huntington School District in the County Legislature. So for me, it's always like a real kind of treat to be here. In the day-to-day annals of government, Dr. DiBernardo was learning. Sometimes it can get a little frustrating, and we do the people's business, we do your business. But when we come to events like this, I always feel like it kind of re-inspires you, and your devotion to duty is really what makes our country and our communities great. And tonight we're honoring several teachers who fit that bill. And I don't know her personally, but Shaka Williams, are you here? Silas? So Silas Wood School is in my legislative district, and I've been there a number of times, and it's a great place. So just like a couple quick quotes. My daughter is a school teacher in East Meadow, and you know, we heard it that our school teachers have become so much more in our society, and we live in such a volatile and polarized society right now that the school teacher is the therapist, it's the social worker, but it's always the person that touches the heart, it opens the mind, and it plants that seed of knowledge that's going to grow forever for our next generation. So to all of you being honored tonight, I have proclamations for all of you. Just a real heartfelt thanks, I think, for the work that you do and the work that all of the teachers here in the South Huntington School District do. Thank you for having me.
Also providing proclamations this evening are Assemblyman Steve Stern, Senator Mario Matera, and Legislator Stephanie Bontempi. So thank you. And also being with us tonight and representing Huntington Town Board, Town Councilman Dr. Dave Bernardo, also providing proclamations. Thank you. Now, he used to speak at the end of this presentation, but now we put him in the beginning. Please help me in welcoming the South Huntington Teachers Association President, Mr. Dennis Callahan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to one of my favorite nights of the year, the Teacher of the Year celebration. Tonight, we can look forward to school principals telling tales of the amazing things that happen each and every day in their buildings. This year's honorees represent the wide diversity of work done by teachers every day in the schools of South Huntington. You will hear about Jessica Farmer's impressive accomplishments as an ENL teacher at Countrywood. You will hear about the amazing work that Ivia Negron-Francais has done during her years of teaching ENL at Oakwood. You will hear how Deanna App brings excitement and enthusiasm to her third grade students at Birchwood. You will hear how Joseph Slovak inspires his physical education students at Maplewood. You will hear about the passion that Jennifer Schmelter brings to her music lessons at Stimson Middle School. And you will hear about some of the wonderful work that Crystalia Shepard does as a guidance counselor at Walt Whitman High School. You will also hear how our District Teacher of the Year, Shaka Williams from Silaswood, has been inspiring South Huntington students since 2011 through his efforts as a social worker. While these individuals represent a wide array of disciplines, there are two important things that they have in common: their love for their students and their dedication to the art of teaching. Jessica, Ivia, Deanna, Joseph, Jennifer, Crystalia, and Shaka, I congratulate you on your momentous accomplishment. As president of the Teachers Association, it is an honor to represent you, and I am humbled to share the stage with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the President of South Huntington's Board of Education, Mr. Nicholas Ciapetta.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we continue our annual tradition of recognizing the best and the brightest, the most creative and innovative, the hardest working and most dedicated, the kindest and most compassionate of our wonderful faculty. Like many others, when I was growing up, my mom kept a big scrapbook of all my school years. And each year we added a new school picture that I took with a terrible haircut and a bad calic in the back. We added the names of my teachers and the name of my favorite teacher from each year. While the decades have passed since I made those entries, I can still visualize each of those teachers and recall a memorable moment from their classes. The teacher who offered reassurance or praise. The teacher who went the extra mile. The teacher who I tried a little harder to impress. Even the teacher who constantly smelled of cigarette smoke. While studies say we forget 70% of all new information that we learn within 24 hours, somehow those small moments from years ago remain unforgettable to me. That is the impact of a teacher. That is your legacy. It lasts beyond a school year, beyond high school graduation. It lasts a lifetime. No other profession can say that. That is why tonight we celebrate you and remember you for many tomorrows to come. So on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to express my admiration and appreciation and extend my heartfelt congratulations to Jessica Farmer, Countrywood's Primary School Teacher of the Year, Deanna App, Birchwood Intermediate School Teacher of the Year, Joseph Slovak, Maplewood Intermediate School Teacher of the Year, Jennifer Schmelter, Stimson Middle School Teacher of the Year, Crystalia Shepard, Walt Whitman High School Teacher of the Year, Ivea Negron Francais, Oakwood Primary School Teacher of the Year, and last but certainly not least, Shaka Williams, Silas Wood Teacher of the Year, and the South Huntington School District Teacher of the Year. Congratulations, everyone.
All right, to truly get our ceremony started, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Mitch Levy and Countrywood's Teacher of the Year.
Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, board members, cabinet, colleagues, and friends. It gives me great pleasure to speak to you about Countrywood's Teacher of the Year, Miss Jessica Farmer. Jessica has an impressive cheering squad in attendance tonight, including her proud mother and grandmother, as well as her brother, uncle, and boyfriend David, who's also here, as well as his family. And of course, many members of our Countrywood family who are all here in support of this wonderful E&L educator who's an incredibly deserving of being recognized tonight as Countrywood's Teacher of the Year. Ms. Farmer is an E&L teacher who's constantly going above and beyond for students and staff at Countrywood. She shared that she always dreamed of being a teacher and could never see herself doing anything else. She fondly remembers model teachers that she had growing up that fostered in her a love of learning and helped her grow. She remembers as a child growing up, she would play teacher and would provide report cards to her mom, which is ironic because I, growing up, always hid my report cards from my mom. Jessica started her career at Countrywood in 2017, and since then has been a part of many different groups that helped Countrywood become a fun and safe learning environment for all students. Ms. Farmer has been the PTA staff liaison and a member of our building SBM team. Before and after school, Ms. Farmer provides services to E&L students at our extended day program and targets readers of all levels using the Sunday reading program. In order to make sure that all students have access to books, she partnered with other staff members and have visited book fairs on several occasions to collect hundreds of books to create free book fairs to our students to make sure that every single student at Countrywood went home with at least 2 books of their own. One of her colleagues had this to say about Ms. Farmer. Jess is always available to support teachers in the building working with the E&L population. She is a knowledgeable and resourceful mentor. Ms. Farmer is also involved in the school community. She is on a number of committees, has worked as a TESOL mentor, and volunteers at a number of school events. Jess completed her leadership degree from Stony Brook in 2020 and did a great job working alongside building and district administration to complete her internship. In the past, she has taken on leadership roles in organizing and running summer programs at the primary buildings, not an easy task. Jess is a natural leader. She is well organized and maintains meticulous records, is a whiz at scheduling, and will truly make a wonderful administrator one day. While Jess loves traveling and cruises, she is so dedicated to honing her craft as an educator that she spent a week of her summer break learning about the teachers' college reading and writing project so that she could come into the school year with more knowledge to better reach our students' needs. I'm not quite sure that that's what her boyfriend had in mind when they were discussing vacation plans. She also attended the Teachers College Reading and Writing reunion over a weekend in the fall to learn tips and tricks to get her writers to write more and enhance her small groups, Again, not quite sure that that's really a vacation. Ms. Farmer has a passion for curriculum and has taught teacher-centered courses about how to build mindfulness within the classroom so students can focus better with the presented tasks. In her free time, which there isn't much of based on all that Jess does for us at Countrywood, she enjoys reading, playing, and walking with her dogs. She also enjoys quality time with her family and friends and exploring new islands and adventures. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Jessica Farmer, who is truly deserving of this award and recognition for all that she does for us at Countrywood.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
That wasn't one page. Congratulations. Congratulations.
You want me to call family? And now I'd like to call my colleague, Dr. McCallion from Oakwood.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, Board of Education, Cabinet, families, students, and staff. Tonight is a special night in South Huntington. I would like to extend my warmest congratulatory wishes to all of our Teachers of the Year. Please join me in congratulating Oakwood's Teacher of the Year, Miss Ivia M. Negron France. The Oakwood Fan Club. Ivia is joined this evening by her fan club, her parents, Maria and Jorge, her husband, Paul, children, Anna Maria, Philip, and Amalia, her brother, Luis, and his wife, Rosa, and her nephews, Ray and Daniel. Ivia's brother, Jorge, is proudly celebrating her this evening from North Carolina, as well as her family from Puerto Rico. And, of course, her Oakwood family. Ivia is a passionate and dedicated educator. Her mission to make a difference began here in South Huntington in 1999. Ivia's journey began as an ENL educator, serving students acquiring a second language. Ms. Negron excelled in working with language learners, and in 2005 took on the role of classroom teacher in the dual language program. Ms. Negron is a real superhero to her kindergartners, and she is a natural in fostering a love of learning in her students. Ivia positively impacts the lives of her kindergarten students each and every day by supporting them academically, socially, and emotionally. Room 114 is bustling with carefully crafted lessons, kindness, smiles, teamwork, and quality language learning opportunities. As a kindergarten teacher, the classroom is never quiet, making it ironic that one of Ivia's favorite Depeche Mode songs is Enjoy the Silence. Her classroom is filled with learning experiences, especially ones that make long-lasting memories for her students. It is a priority for Ivia that all of her students get to experience everything special in and out of the classroom. Ivia has even used her own money to make that experience happen for students. Ivia takes the time to understand the diverse learning needs of each one of her students. She has a gift of getting children to believe in themselves, even when things are challenging. Ivia stands by the philosophy of motivating her learners to meet their greatest potential and teaching them the amazing power that they have in knowing 2 languages. In speaking with her kindergartners, they say Miss Negron is the best teacher, and she makes us feel so good at school. Additionally, a former student shared, from her teaching, her songs, and her involvement with us, Miss Negron is the reason why I have continued learning Spanish for 12 years, and I am now graduating high school with a seal of biliteracy. As you can see, Miss Negron's impact starts in kindergarten and continues to make a difference in the students' lives for many years to come. Ivia knows that building relationships matter. The rapport and connection she makes with her young learners and their families is truly unique. Ivia ensures that her students' families always feel comfortable and supported. Miss Negron relates her cultural experiences and background with those of her students' families anytime she has an opportunity to do so. One of Miss Negron's family shared, "You don't come across teachers like Senora Negron very often. She is popular with students and families. She is loving and warm and gentle, and her caring devotion for her students and the Oakwood community knows no bounds." Miss Negron is also a caring and helpful colleague. Ivia supports her colleagues by always being available to help others. She might need a tissue. Providing others with help, no matter how much or how little, is a direct reflection of the core values instilled in her by her parents at a very young age. Miss Negron is an educator who knows her impact is equally important outside of the classroom walls. Ivia's students' faces light up with joy when they see her at school and district events. She gives her time to be involved in the SPM and report card committees, instructional rounds team, and kindergarten enrichment program, just to name a few. With everything Ivia undertakes, she does it with pride and excellence. Miss Negron honors the cultural backgrounds of all of her students. She celebrates each and every child and brings their cultural traditions, stories, and values into the classroom by making each student feel proud of who they are. Miss Negron's middle name is Milagros, which means miracle in Spanish. Ivia, for all you do and for all you are, thank you for being one of Oakwood's miracles to so many. Ivia, congratulations on being Oakwood's Teacher of the Year, and we are so proud of you. Now you're gonna make me cry. We taking a picture? Yeah. Do you want me? Do you want to go? No.
You're good. Congratulations.
Ready for Birchwood? Okay. At this time, I invite my colleague and friend and Birchwood principal, Mr. Ciccarelli, to introduce Birchwood's Teacher of the Year.
Dr. Dalia, Mrs. Ciapetta, Board of Education, Cabinet, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Deanna App, Birchwood's Teacher of the Year. There is a good chance that you have crossed paths with Deanna or a member of her family while in South Huntington. The Apps and Hocknells are like the Royals over in England, except their lineage is connected to South Huntington. To emphasize my point, Deanna is a Whitman graduate. She is joined tonight by her husband, Tim, a Whitman graduate, her daughters, Alexandra and Juliana, future Whitman graduates, her mom, Anna, and dad, Herb. Anna is a Whitman graduate. Also here is her brother, Greg, sister, Stacy, brother-in-law, Louis, nieces, Victoria, Nicole, and Danielle, and nephew, Matthew, all Whitman graduates. We also have her brothers and sister-in-laws, Chuck, Vanessa, Paul, and Jessica, their children, Jake, Valentina, Victoria, Chris, Nikki, and Adriana, all future Whitman graduates. And her father and mother-in-law, Charles and Barbara. When Deanna speaks about this family, you can feel the love and pride in her words. They spend much time together enjoying each other's company. They even enjoy spending time with those that came to the family from outside of South Huntington. I'm wondering which one of you will be writing a tell-all book or a Netflix special about the dirt on the Hocknell and App family. Deanna is all about family. Deanna's connection to family does not stop when she leaves her neighborhood. Just 1.1 miles away, Deanna finds her other family, her Birchwood family. As her own family relies on Deanna for so much, her Birchwood family counts on her as well. Deanna served as a building coach where she cared for her Birchwood family by providing guidance and support for building and district initiatives. She continuously shares ideas and materials with her colleagues. She is always thinking, planning, and rethinking. There's this cute little thing that some of my teachers do during my meetings when I'm looking for a volunteer. They will quickly put their fingers on their nose to indicate that they are not it. While Deanna did not invent this game, she has definitely mastered it. What's funny is that while she's always quick to touch her nose, we both know that she's going to eventually volunteer to take on the challenge being offered. This is because she is a devoted and dedicated professional who loves to learn and teach. She doesn't do it because it's something going on her resume. She's intrinsically motivated to be the best she can be and loves to be a difference maker in the lives of her colleagues and our students. The one thing that we don't allow her to help our staff with is mindfulness activities prior to being observed. That is not Deanna's strength. Prior to an observation, you will find Deanna sweating profusely, biting her fingernails, and looking quite nauseous. Mind you, Deanna has never gotten anything but amazing observation evaluations, but she gets nervous because she never wants to feel that she has let anyone down. Deanna is a master teacher who reinvents herself day to day and year to year because she understands that her students' needs are always changing, and in her heart and her mind, she can never give her students anything less than her best. She greets students each day with a sweet hello and a warm smile. Deanna, along with her friend and teaching partner, Michelle Legee, run a structured classroom. The two of them get along very well. They have a special bond that is built on schedules, color-coded charts, smooth transitions, uncluttered spaces, and slight OCD tendencies. Deanna's structure is combined with warmth, kindness, creativity, and highly effective instruction. She inspires her children to be themselves and fosters an environment where they feel that their potential is limitless. Have you ever met someone who you know doesn't realize how amazing they are? This is Deanna. Well, Deanna, it's time for you to realize that you are everything a teacher should be, and I cannot be more proud to call you a member of my Birchwood family and our Teacher of the Year. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Bill Hender and his Maplewood Teacher of the Year.
Good evening, Dr. D'Elia, Mr. Ciapetta, members of the Board of Education, and Cabinet, friends, and colleagues. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Maplewood's Teacher of the Year, Mr. Joseph Slovak. Within the field of education, I have learned that you will often find two types of people: those who love to teach and strive to get better each and every day, and those who were born to teach and spend every day making an impact on others. Joseph Slovak, a physical education teacher at Maplewood, is the latter of the two. A 25-year veteran of South Huntington School District who managed to put a smile on over 600 faces each and every day. Joe is a very humble man who never looks for the spotlight. In fact, this is probably the most uncomfortable you will ever see him. So, Joe, I had a choice tonight. I could either tell a bunch of funny stories, like the ones that make us laugh each and every day while we're outside doing bus duty, or I could go the sentimental way and describe what an amazing person you are. Well, fortunately, my comedic skills aren't that great, so I am going to go with a brief, sentimental approach. When I think about Mr. Slovak and what makes him so special, I can't help but think of the movie Mr. Holland's Opus and the profound effect the lead character, Glenn Holland, had on his students. You see, to me, in many ways, watching the way in which Mr. Slovak conducts himself throughout the school, the ways he is beloved by so many, and the way he impacts others to do their best is much the same as the movie. So much, in fact, that I felt compelled to say something memorable. But all I could come up with was, look around, Mr. Slovak. All these people here tonight, they're all here to celebrate you and all the outstanding educators of South Huntington. Mr. Slovak, this is your opus, and here is why. Mr. Slovak has often been referred to by parents and colleagues alike as a true role model. In a society where individuals are often judged on wins and losses, Mr. Slovak believes in fair play and sportsmanship. For him, it is a win anytime a student simply participates or tries to learn a new skill. The reward is the smile that the student immediately portrays after the accomplishment. In fact, just yesterday, and he tells me he did not pay this parent, a parent was dropping off a child, rolled down her window to ask if the gentleman standing next to me happened to be the famous Mr. Slovak. She then proceeded to thank Mr. Slovak, as they are a family that is new to the building, and their son absolutely loves physical education for the first time ever. She continued by stating that her son used to lack confidence and was afraid to try new sports. But thanks to Mr. Slovak, he now comes home talking about how much he enjoys Mr. Slovak's class and the motivation he provides. Now, if I had $1 for every time a parent went out of their way to compliment Mr. Slovak, I'd be a very rich man. I'm sure you all have read the program and all the great initiatives that he developed for students to participate in during and after the school day, so I won't relist them because I was told to keep this brief and could probably tell a great story with each of them. The time and effort Mr. Slovak puts into developing a relationship with each and every student reaches far beyond the walls of the gymnasium, and it is truly remarkable. As I conclude, I would like to thank Joe's wife, Mary, his 2 daughters, Mia and Lily, and his 2 adopted daughters, Lizette and Tatiana, who share Joe with us each and every day. And lastly, Mr. Slovak, I know you and your late brother Stephen had a very special relationship and is one of the main reasons why you became a teacher, and that's how you honor him every day. Well, I'm sure he's looking down on you this moment, so very proud of all you have accomplished. Congratulations, Mr. Slovak. It is now my distinct pleasure to call up Mr. Duggan, principal of Stimson Middle School.
Good evening. 1 year ago, I attended my first South Huntington event as the newly appointed principal of Stimson Middle School. I wanted to get a better feel for the district by attending the Teacher of the Year ceremony before starting at Stimson. You can really get a good sense of the health of a district by watching how they honor their teachers. I was immediately impressed with the level of respect the district places on its teachers, and even more impressed with the respect and dedication that teachers show towards their students, their schools, and this wonderful community. Tonight, I'm happy to speak about a person who embodies that respect and dedication. To her district, 34 years of dedicated service as a band teacher, director, and leader at Whitman, but mostly Stimson Middle School. She is a person who is highly respected by her peers, her students, and the families she has positively impacted through music. This teacher received absolutely glowing endorsements from teachers, dozens of students, and families. They used words like wonderful and dedicated and professional and dynamic. They speak about her encouragement for students to not only perform at the highest level, but succeed. One parent told me how this teacher helps motivate students who are just learning an instrument, as well as challenging the exceptional students through captivating music. Another parent told me about how this teacher is able to use intramural and marching bands as vehicles to improve musicianship and overall learning. All of those characteristics are keys to excellent teaching and long-term learning. When we speak about teaching and learning, we often think about students sitting in a classroom. They're eventually taking a test, usually on Fridays for some reason. That process is relatively low stakes. Now imagine this. The skill that someone must have to teach a young person an instrument, to compare their playing of that instrument with others playing that same instrument. And then taking all of those students and having them work succinctly in a band. Now, to add complexity, their test is an actual performance in front of strangers. That's a test. Think about that, how challenging that is. It's amazing that teachers and how teachers can inspire, advocate for, coach, love, and hold students accountable for their learning all the way through a performance. I find that amazing because it doesn't just happen. Someone with true skills and dedication is able to do that at the level that we demand. Our district emphasizes respect and dedication. Those two words are excellent descriptions of our Teacher of the Year. For Stimson Middle School, I am honored to celebrate and present Mrs. Jennifer Schmelter as our choice for Teacher of the Year. What's up? A little bit more. I know, gotcha. Leading up to tonight, I got to learn a bit more about Jen. Jen and her husband, Paul, who's here with us tonight, have two children, Amy and Derek. Amy, who we can wave to up there, she's virtually joining us tonight. Amy has a dream job for me. She's living in Colorado as an environmental scientist and somehow is working in New York, but in Colorado. I love it. I love the idea. Eddie, if we could work that out somehow. Derek followed in his mother's footsteps. Derek is now the high school band director in Deer Park. Both of Jen's children are accomplished musicians. Again, another example of her devotion to her students and craft. Mrs. Schmelter has inspired the love of music for thousands of students in South Huntington. So please, now join me in welcoming and celebrating Miss Jennifer Schmelter. And Jen, these are for you. And now it is my pleasure, my absolute pleasure, to welcome up Principal Ken Costa, Principal of Whitman.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try being succinct and robust at the same time. Sorry. Had to do it. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ciapetta, members of the School Board of Education, Dr. Lee, and members of the Cabinet. It is truly an honor to stand before you in the presence of all these amazing teachers and staff. You know, as I'm listening to all these presentations, I don't know if our students are truly an amalgamation of what our teachers are or want them to be, or is a result of this entire district. But as I stand here as a principal at a high school, we get to see the end product, which is truly amazing. And we work with all of the students that come through our doors, but their roots are grounded and founded in everything that happens below us. So I like to thank all the principals and all the teachers and all the staff of the elementary schools, the middle school, the intermediate schools, for all the hard work you do in preparing your students for us. It truly is amazing to see the transformation from a kindergartner to a high school student. And I'm sure when you come up to the high school and you say, oh, I remember little Johnny when he was this big, and he comes to high school, he's got a full beard, he's 6'5", he's walking through the hallway with his pants falling down, doesn't want to talk to anybody, but it's the same kid that you remember as a little elementary school child. And people like Crystalia Shepard and the staff here at the Whitman have the joy and pleasure of doing that the polishing, the final touch of getting our students ready for the real world. With that being said, it is truly my great pleasure and honor to introduce and congratulate Walt Whitman's Teacher of the Year, Ms. Crystalia Shepard. Now, Crystalia is joined here this evening by her husband, Justin, who's an English teacher in the high school, her mom, Jo, mother-in-law, Janice, and father-in-law, Peter. So give them a round of applause, and thank you for coming out tonight. For the past 18 years, Ms. Shepard has been an integral part of the Walt Whitman community. Ms. Shepard works tirelessly with students in grades 9 through 12 in individual and group settings, providing guidance on their academic programs and courses of study, preparing them ultimately for life beyond high school. In speaking with the parents about Ms. Shepard, one parent summed up their experiences with her by saying, "Every time my son meets with Ms. Shepard, it feels like she's family, because she knows us all so well." It is that personal touch and the ability to make those connections and build those relationships that separates Crystalia from many of her contemporaries. I have personally seen the collaboration between Ms. Shepard and our school social workers, psychologists, and teachers regarding students' academic success, social and emotional well-being, and she never, ever misses a beat. She is empathetic, she is caring and knowledgeable, and her unconditional love, mixed with her brutal honesty at times, is truly welcoming and is what we respect most about her. Ms. Shepard continues to demonstrate her care and compassion with our students, extending past the regular school day and into our alternative evening high school. She has been with the alternative high school for the past 11 years, and the students there have expressed their admiration for her, and I quote one of our students recently said to me, "Ms. Shepard is a real person. She gets us and truly shows that she cares." Ms. Shepard is passionate about working with all the youths, extending in her efforts into her own home community. Ms. Shepard is a member of the Board of Directors for Youth Directions and Alternatives in East Northport. We have served in several positions, including president. As a member of this organization, she has helped programs for at-risk youth, extending across district lines. Ms. Shepard loves to spend time with her husband, Justin, again, who's an English teacher here at Walt Whitman High School, and their two daughters, Mia and Zoe, who are probably home sleeping right now. Whether they are traveling or creating an adventure closer to home, she enjoys making memories with the family and loved ones. I would also like to note that Ms. Shepard is currently pursuing her doctorate in philosophy, which is truly exceptional. Congratulations on that, and good luck. Ms. Shepard is caring, kind, compassionate, intelligent, and flat out amazing. It gives me great pleasure to recognize Ms. Crystalia Shepard as a 2022-2023 Walt Whitman High School Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. Wait a second, one more. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. At this time, please help me in welcoming Silas Woods Principal, Mr. Stephen Todio, to the podium. And of course, our South Huntington Teacher of the Year, Mr. Shaka Williams.
Good evening, Mr. Ciapetta, members of the Board of Education, Dr. D'Elia, cabinet, colleagues, members of our Silas Wood family, and the South Huntington community. It is with great pleasure and pride that tonight we honor Mr. Shaka Williams, not only Silas Wood's Teacher of the Year, but the South Huntington District Teacher of the Year. Shaka is joined this evening by his lovely college sweetheart and now wife Marisol, and his sister Aisha and brother-in-law Lorenzo. Shaka started in the district as an intern at Walt Whitman and Stimson 13 years ago under the great direction of David Perkins, who's here with us tonight. In 2011, he began as a social worker at Birchwood before finding his home at Silaswood. So a couple of fun facts about Shaka before I get into my speech. So he was raised in Brooklyn, lives in Staten Island. His favorite color is blue. He loves basketball. And he loves cars and engines, which is especially important considering he's surrounded by them, making his round-trip daily commute from Staten Island to South Huntington about 120 miles and close to 3 hours a day. He's one of the only people that could text me at 4:15 in the morning. He loves bridges, he loves tolls and traffic. But most of all, he loves our kids. So after speaking to some of our students and staff, here are a few words they used to describe Mr. Williams. Patient, compassionate, empathetic, sensitive, quick thinking, professional, someone to count on, respectful, dedicated, and probably the most genuine person I have ever had the pleasure to meet. He's definitely my calming force. His comforting presence quickly becomes familiar to all of our students each September. Shaka interacts on a one-to-one personal basis with our students, assisting them as they acclimate to a new school and in overcoming a myriad of social and personal issues. His commitment to their growth, development, achievements, and success is evident each and every day. His patience and enthusiasm in interacting with our students, parents, and colleagues knows no bounds. Shaka has served as our Project Excel coordinator for 7 years. He's a member of our Silaswood Best team, our SEL committee, and our building-wide RTI team. Shaka can be counted on as an enthusiastic and encouraging team member of events such as Unity Day, Homecoming, Family Fun Night, Parent University, and so many other Silaswood and district events. He's hosted over 20 interns and is currently the district's intern coordinator, helping to shape the lives of inspiring social workers with his knowledge and experiences. Mr. Williams organizes and oversees our annual holiday food drive, spending an extraordinary amount of time to ensure that the maximum number of families benefit from this generous project. No sooner do we close the door on that endeavor than Shaka can be found once again spending time organizing and facilitating our Giving Tree gift drive, which brings the joy of the holiday season to so many kids. One can only imagine the benefits and the happiness these projects have provided to Silas families and to others in the community over the years. Finally, Mr. Williams is an exceptional colleague, teacher, husband, friend, mentor, and a true team player. No matter how small or large the interaction is with Mr. Williams, you always leave feeling loved, appreciated, and supported. Mr. Williams is a vital part of my Silaswood team and the South Huntington team. I am so proud and honored to have him represent South Huntington and Silaswood as the 2023 District Teacher of the Year.
Gifts.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be honest, when I was told I had to give a speech, I was uncertain about what I was going to talk about. In many ways, I love what I do, and very much that motivates me enough, so this recognition really is quite special to me. I also don't really like being the center of attention, kind of despise it, hate it. I don't even like speaking over the loudspeaker in the building, and thankfully I figured out a way to avoid Steve in asking me to do so every year. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say today, I really thought the most important thing I really wanted to say is thank you. I'm not originally from South Huntington, I'm not from Long Island, but you guys have welcomed me in so many different ways, from my internship to all the time I've spent here in South Huntington. I would like to really thank our esteemed Board of Education, Dr. D'Elia, and the Administrative Cabinet for maintaining a framework for which all of our work and efforts are possible. I would like to thank my fellow Teachers of the Year. You are all well deserving this award, and you guys motivate me constantly. I would like to thank my principal, Mr. Stephen Toto and Mr. Oblitz, for allowing me to do the work necessary in seeing our community of educators and learners be successful. And thank you to the committed staff at Silas Wood, where I spent a large portion of my career, for voting me to have this recognition, and it's greatly appreciated. However, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how I've made connections with so many different staff members within this district. And it goes to the testament of what South Huntington is and what this community represents. I think when I first started in South Huntington as a social work intern, I didn't have a full grasp of what this role could be and what this meant. And I'm amazed every year at the commitment and the efforts put forth by so many different educators. I'm not a traditional teacher. Shout out to all my social workers and psychologists and student service staff out there who I learned so much from all the time. But I'm always amazed at the everyday efforts of the cafeteria staff when they sponsor a child for holiday gifts, or our office staff who check in with students just because that's where they made the connection, or administrators who are willing to go to a student's home to wake them up to get them to school. These are all experiences that I had never thought would be part of our role here, but I've learned is a super important one. Educators are an amazing group of professionals. In many ways, public educators are asked to confront and address issues that our larger society hasn't figured out yet. And we do so with grace and patience and frustration, and we do it day in and day out, year in and year out. And it's a testament to the type of people who choose this profession. And I'm very happy and thankful to be a part of this group. I want to thank also my family, my wife, who's literally my best friend, my sister, who I've followed her lead since a kid, and my brother-in-law, who has been an inspiration and motivation to me every day. I think lastly, one of the things I want to mention is I'm really thankful to be an educator. I think we're very fortunate to work with kids every day. I think we get a chance to work with students with limitless potential, who are smart and bright and motivated and compassionate, as well as eccentric and quirky and anxious, sometimes very stubborn. And yet every year we see them grow and progress. And it's one of the things that motivates us and reminding us that even when we feel like things are difficult or a student isn't showing the progress or the academic performance or even the behaviors, the specific behaviors that we would hope to see, that doesn't mean that they're not learning. In fact, it means very much that they've made a connection with someone here, and they show up every day, and they give it a try that in many ways, even as adults, sometimes we find difficult. So I'm very fortunate to not only work with students, I'm very fortunate to exist in a community, and a community that shows up for their children. When I first started working here, I came in under the and the mentorship and internship of David Perkins and the leadership of Dr. Harris and Dr. Bernardo. And I had learned what it could mean to be a community member, not only as a person, but as a school and as an entity, and finding different ways of not only connecting what we do inside of schools to what happens outside in our community it's valueless. It's something that's invaluable. And I think that very often it's something that goes unnoticed and sometimes unacknowledged. And I think that I would really like to just thank our students, our staff, my fellow educators, and everyone who came out tonight. Not only because it's a Wednesday and it's rainy and it's pretty disgusting outside, but it's recognizing something that we all hold very deep to, very, very near to our hearts, and something that we believe in greatly, which is why we're here. So I would like to thank South Huntington, the board, my colleagues, and most importantly, our students. Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
This was definitely the work of Ms. Cirillo, so thank you.
Thank you, Shaka. I gotta say, Shaka, listening to you speak really, it made me miss the classroom. So this connection you were speaking about, it really rang true, so thank you for that. At this time, I would like to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Vito D'Elia.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I do have a 17-page speech here. Okay, there's always bosses in the house here. But I do want to say I am going to be robust and succinct. I'm not sure if Mr. Costa's definition of robust and succinct are actually true, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Truthfully, I want to speak, like I said, I do, and it's not 17 pages. It is 1 page. But I want to speak more from the heart. You know, what's expected of teachers today is tremendous. What you deal with on a daily basis. When we talk about social, emotional, mental health, reading, writing, social studies, science, a whole bunch of other courses, there's a lot on your plate. And what comes into your classroom are students from a bunch of varied backgrounds. And the amazing things you're able to do with them is tremendous. I am a thankful superintendent that I have the opportunity to lead here in the South Huntington School District. I am super fortunate because of all of you. So Jessica, Ivia, Deanna, Joseph, I call him Joe because we've known each other for 13 years at Maplewood, Jennifer and Crystalia and Shaka. It's about you guys tonight, and what I can say is thank you. Thank you again. Thank you to everybody for coming as well.
Thank you, Dr. Leah. To close out this evening's ceremony, I would like to introduce Walt Whitman Senior and ex officio Student Board of Education member, Samantha Regalato. She'll be performing What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong.
I see trees of green and red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. see skies of blue and clouds of white, bright blessed days and dark sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Wonderful job. Once again, congratulations to all our teachers receiving recognition tonight. You truly make South Huntington a wonderful world for our students and also our staff. At this time, I would ask all our teachers and board members to join us in one last group photo. Afterwards, we will take a short recess before starting our Board of Education meeting. I guess I can't say thank you again for joining us this evening. Truly appreciate it.
Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Joyner. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, items C through F require one resolution for adoption. Those are our minutes, financial items, and bills. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to communications. We have a number of communications. The first is from the Nassau-Suffolk School Boards Association, excuse me, the president of that organization, letting us know that nominations are open for the Distinguished Service Award in recognition of outstanding leadership on behalf of public education, outstanding school board service, dedicated school board service, and then the School Board Service Award. All right, we have a number of communications that we received in the last few days via email. I'm going to read them all at once and then ask if anyone is here to address those. The board received emails from Sarah Zapeta, Shari Mohan, Brian and Jody Greco, Rebecca L., Amy Kaufman, Holly Bobker, Betsy O'Fallon, Denise Montague, Gay Borgo, Dana Calvert, and David Bobker, all with respect to armed security. I believe Mr. Bobker is signed up, and so I'll allow you to come down, address the board, and address your letter if you like. Yeah, over there. Thank you. And just please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, David Bobker, reside on Bennett Avenue. I have 2 children in the district and hopefully a future one as well. I think I made my thoughts clear in the letter that also presented facts and analysis, which were sadly missing from the proposal as presented. Firstly, congratulations, they've all gone, I think, but to the teachers that were here tonight, a wonderful accolade, and we certainly appreciate their passion. I'll get straight to the point. Earlier tonight, legacy was mentioned. I believe you mentioned it yourself, sir. Well, we're now discussing an action that the school board has to leave quite a lasting legacy in our community. Let's get to some facts. Very briefly, I'm not going to go through the whole list, you've seen them, but just to make them public. Criminologists at the Texas State University's ALERT, that's the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Program, studied responses to active shooter incidents. In the analysis of 160 incidents, lethal force from police or bystanders brought an end to a little less than a third of these sad and traumatic rampages. 25 school shootings in the ALERT study. The 25 studies in the ALERT study, none were brought to an end by an armed guard. None. 0. They were brought to an end by unarmed staff, individuals and securities. Heroes, every one of them. Armed guards do not present a deterrent, as was presented in the comments. They are not a proactive deterrent. The facts are quite clear in contradicting this. In 4 of the high-profile school shootings of 2018, all 4, there were armed guards on presence. And sadly, in not one of those instances did they save lives. More generally, active shooters do not favor gun-free zones. Analysis from the University of Massachusetts on 111 shooting attacks between '66 and 2018. Only 18 took place in areas where firearms were banned. 80% of active shooter incidents where firearms were present on the campus. Does not support that argument. It's a fact. Countless studies have proven now there's been challenges with the administration's use of school guards or police force to help administer action upon students. The news is endless, traumatic, every single one of them. There's countless incidents of mishandling of firearms and actions on the campus around students, not just in the building, but around the building. Leveraging the aftermath, traumatic aftermath of Uvalde is probably not the most credible way to present this argument. It's distressing to everybody, as is every one of these events. But these aren't about feelings or the perceptions of feelings. These are about facts. and a body that is responsible for overseeing an educational establishment should be, we would hope, progressing the discovery process to look at facts, figures, and analysis before making such huge decisions. For those that still need facts to make the decisions, I think the decision was probably already made. For those that seek facts, they're available everywhere you see. But again, we urge caution before this legacy is left. It has a huge and traumatic impact to everybody in this school district and our community. We all understand, we all want the same thing, protection for our children. But resources can be devoted in far more effective and efficient areas. And if you look at just about every single one of these traumatic incidents at schools and everywhere alike, just about every time there's one simple theme that comes out. After the fact, those in administration that had the opportunity to devote resources, govern and oversee these policies and procedures to discover these individuals and these at-risk individuals before such incidents, every single one of them would wish they could go back and make a different decision then. You have that opportunity. I thank you for your time tonight and for everybody listening, and I hope the vote isn't already a done deal or in the bag based upon attendance tonight or previous conversations. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bobker, and I appreciate your correspondence, and the board has reviewed it, and we appreciate the amount of time that you put into it. We respect your opinions, as we do everyone that we received in the last week or so. I do have a couple other people signed up, but the names that I mentioned in correspondence, was there anyone else whose name I mentioned who wanted to address the board at this moment? There'll be another opportunity when we get into the new business. Okay. We now moving on to new business, and our first new business item is the discussion of adoption of a board policy, revisions to such policy 3411, unlawful possession of a weapon upon school grounds. Is there a motion? Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Mr. Bronson, Mr. Joyner, and I think there was somebody else. Oh, and Mr. Biangasso, and Ms. Meyer, seconded by the rest of the board. Okay, so this is just explaining what's going on. This is a policy that would need to be adopted by the Board of Education to permit the possession of weapons on school grounds. We've revised this policy so that it was consistent with the New York State penal law, and it permits an exception to the unlawful possession of a weapon upon school grounds so as to authorize the Board of Education to contract out for armed security personnel. In addition, it adds a paragraph to the policy to permit outside organizations with the permission of the district to utilize the contract vendor, and then certain other outside organizations that have been identified by the district who directly coordinate with the district to provide resources, support, and/or program enrichment to students to kind of go on a pre-approved list. And that is the nature of the policy. As I would say, the policy needed to be changed for the Board of Education to consider this. Just to go back a little bit, how we got here today, we've been talking about this possibility of armed security. It was first mentioned at a September 28th Board of Education meeting during a facilities and safety presentation that our superintendent and deputy superintendent delivered. Just want to go over a couple key points because I think it's worth mentioning. This is contracting for outside security. It is armed, and it would be a contract company. It doesn't impact or change our existing, what we call red coats or maroon coats and blue coats security, who provide security during the day and the evening. Those are district employees. They would continue to be employed by the district. This would be contracting with a company who are not district employees. They would be stationed outside at all times unless there was an active shooter situation. It's to provide security during the school hours. There would be a guard at every single district building where there are students. And in addition, there would be select nighttime and daytime, and weekend events at which we would also provide security, to be determined by our Director of Security in accordance with his knowledge and expertise. This proposal is one of many that the district has considered and has implemented over the course of the last several years. This year, with the recommendation of Dr. D'Elia, we hired a Director of Safety and Security who has extensive experience in law enforcement, including active shooter training and protocols. We are currently in the process of constructing security vestibules at each one of our buildings. We've upgraded our security cameras. We received a grant excuse me, to install a security booth outside Walt Whitman High School in the entranceway. We expect that construction on that will be completed during the summer. We're in the process of greater collaboration and communication with the Suffolk County Police Department, which includes active shooter drills and tabletop exercises. And just this year, under the recommendation of Dr. D'Elia, the district entered into a partnership with Northwell Health, which refers at-risk students with mental health concerns to receive those services from Northwell Health that we may not be able to provide in-house. So obviously, as we've talked about, this is a multifaceted and a terrible problem that has, it's an endemic really in our nation for whatever reason there is. And this, if the board adopts it, would be one part of addressing and safeguarding against that complex problem. Okay. Well, now open it up back again to the people who have signed up. Our next speaker is Brian Shupak. Mr. Shupak, would you like to address the Board of Education?
Thank you. My name is Brian. I'm at 66 Todd Court. I just found out about this vote this morning, so I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but I did do some digging. And I was hoping to, when I read the prior minutes, to see if there's any research or studies or science that backs up your proposal that armed guards is a deterrent in schools. And in fact, there is not any research or data or studies or evidence to support your proposal. And in fact, it is the complete opposite. So there was a study in 2021, and you can just do a simple Google search of armed security guards in schools and facts, and you'll find a lot of studies that show that this is not necessary to keep schools safe. In 2021, researchers at the University of Albany and the RAND Corporation found school resource officers do not prevent school shootings or gun-related incidents. Prior research suggests that many school shooters are actively suicidal, intending to die in the act, so an armed officer may be an incentive rather than a deterrent. It's interesting that on a night that you're celebrating teachers and social workers, and specifically Shaka Williams, the teacher of the year, a social worker at I believe it's the 6th grade school, he connects with students in need. And it's hypocritical to celebrate him and then say, well, we're actually going to put money towards armed guards instead of more money to hire more people like Shaka Williams, who can be in the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high schools, who can connect with students in need before they get to the point where they want to come to the school with a gun. If any of you are going to be voting to approve of this, and I came here fully expecting that it's probably going to be a unanimous vote, you should know that you are voting for a proposal that's not grounded in science, not grounded in any research or data or evidence. In fact, it seems like it's only grounded in what makes you feel safe. Your feelings don't produce good policy. It has a lot of unintended consequences. And so I urge all of you up here to reconsider your position, take more time, and do some more reading, and you'll find that this policy is at odds with all of the science and all of the data. And if you vote for this policy, myself and like others who recently moved into this community may take our tax dollars and go to a school district that's actually going to come up with evidence-based policies that support its students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shupak. We have one more speaker, but did want to just address a couple points you made. I do think that, I would take issue that with not providing our students the services that they need, and I think our Assistant Superintendent for Student Services would as well. We do have robust social workers, psychologists, and our partnership with Northwell Health is something that is the envy of a lot of other districts. We're one of only, 6 districts in Suffolk County, I believe, that was able to do that partnership, and we were specifically chosen to do so. And that is that's a forward-thinking plan on the part of the district. And some of these other things that we've done are also forward-thinking, and they're in collaboration with law enforcement. And we have discussed with law enforcement. I'm not going to use their names here today. But they have recommended this as well, and I specifically have asked police officers in Suffolk County as to whether or not this would be a measure that they recommended, and they did. But it's not only our students who could come on, it could be people that we never interact with. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a South Huntington student who's going to potentially cause harm. It could be a graduate, it could be a parent, it could be a resident, it could be a non-resident. And those are people that we wouldn't be able to reach through our social services. So thank you, I do appreciate your comments, of course, and always welcome the comments. I know they're thoughtful and we may disagree, but they're appreciated nonetheless, and they're definitely part of the collaborative process. Our next speaker, Dennis Callahan.
So, Dennis Callahan, President of the Teachers Association. I want to start by saying I do not envy your position. No matter what you do tonight, people are not going to be happy. Something Shaka said tonight just really resonated with me, and it's relevant to this, that we are asked as schools to solve a problem that society itself hasn't yet found a solution to. And so that's where we are, and I don't want to be in your shoes. But I have a question. It's a question I asked privately to both Mr. Ciapetta and to Dr. D'Elia, and I'm hoping that I can get a satisfactory answer. There was an armed guard at Columbine. There was an armed guard at Parkland. In Uvalde, there was an entire armed police force devoted to that school district. And I want to know what's going to make South Huntington different, because it didn't help there. Dr. D'Elia graciously said, well, we'll have an expectation for our armed guards to enter the building. I'm sure they had the same expectation in Columbine, in Parkland. In Uvalde, they did enter. They waited outside in the hallway with an unlocked classroom door as students and staff were bleeding to death. So I get in maybe a random situation where there's no connection, that somebody might say, well, the easier target is where we're not armed, we don't have armed guards. Great. I was just dumb coincidence on the way here this evening. I was listening to an analysis of what went on in the last few days in California. And there was an expert who said that over 80% of these shootings are not random. So I still am left with that question of what is going to make our situation different than all of the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. I'm sure Dr. D'Elia will want to weigh in on that, and certainly allow him in a moment. You brought that up last time, and I've been speaking with Dr. D'Elia about, I thought it was a good question. I think what makes it different is one, leadership. I think we can see what good leadership means for a district, and we have gone out and selected somebody in the form of Richard Karlstrom, our Director of Security, who provides leadership, who has relevant experience in these areas. And, I don't want to criticize other police departments around the country, but there is a huge difference in the pool of the security guards that we're getting that are not elsewhere. The company that we have on the list, they are drawing from former NYPD members of the Nassau County Police Department and the Suffolk County Police Department. And it's just the fact that those are the best departments in the country. I don't think there's any question that they're the best in terms of what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. These are people who are specifically trained on these things. They're trained on anti-terrorism, and they're trained in a whole host of things. So I think that it comes down to the training. And you're right, in a crisis moment, you never know how somebody's going to react. So can we guarantee that people are going to run in and risk their life? You can never guarantee anything, right? There's no guarantees on this, for sure, right? Like, and the studies, I think it's very difficult to study something like this one way or the other, right? Because there's no controls that you could take over this, and the variables change from each shooting to one another. But I think it's the quality of the people that you decide to contract with and the expertise of the police departments that we're drawing the guards from, and I think that's a huge difference. Dr. Lee, you want to?
Yeah, I remember having this conversation with Mr. Callahan, and I told him back then, and I'll say it again, it's a good question. When we look at what happened in Texas, in speaking with our Director of Security, Mr. Karlstrom, there are because I'm not an expert in that area, and that's why we hired one. There was a whole host of errors. And the number one piece in Texas, that there was a void of leadership during this crisis. Part of this process has been the vetting process when the bid went out, is to meet with the company, have our Director of Security have confidence in the company, work with the 2nd Precinct, work with Suffolk County law enforcement to make sure that if this unfortunate event ever happens here in South Huntington, I need to have that confidence to share with the Board of Education that if this situation happens, we will do what we need to do to neutralize the threat. So I just, because somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do, does that mean that we don't ever try it and move forward with it because it didn't work?
Thank you, Dr. D'Elia. Obviously there's difficult decisions. One of the things that you mentioned to us in this process is that in these moments, there's really not a moment to lose. Each second or minute that we waste could be another life. And having somebody right here at a building is very different than having to call 911 and wait for those police to respond. And as quickly as they're going to respond, there's no way they can possibly respond as quickly as the person who is stationed at a building. And that moment can save a life. And I don't think that's just feelings. That is more than a feeling. That's a fact. The quicker you can respond, the more lives that you can save. And we do have to hope that the company is going to do the right thing. And I have every confidence that they do, because they have a lifetime record of doing so. You don't see NYPD and Suffolk County police officers and Nassau County police officers shy away from a situation. They run into it. We know that. We've seen it. We saw it in 9/11. We saw people who ran to the problem. I expect that they'll do that the same here.
There's a piece also of, are we well aware of the training that these officers had in these prior school shootings? have they been trained in active shooter? You know, in speaking with one of the companies, they said not every police officer is meant for this role. They're putting their life on the line. They have to, and that's the expectation of this district.
Anyone else in the audience like to address the Board of Education? Yes, can you please come up to the microphone.
Can I just say from here, if you don't mind, can everyone hear me?
You here?
My name is Kathleen Tolman. My children went to school here. Just have a question. If there was the use of the gun, it became, who gives the final say in the use of the gun if it comes down to it? Is it the armed security guard, or do they have to make a phone call to use the gun?
Well, if the situation is that somebody's walking in to the building with an AK-47, there will be no phone call. That's the expertise we're relying on and contracting with. So, it's a situation that happens that would determine, and it's, as Mr. Ciapetta said, it's a matter of seconds. We don't have time to make phone calls.
But that's an AK-47. If the armed security guard felt that his or the student's life is in jeopardy, do they have to make a phone call or to contact someone, or is it a decision that that person makes at that moment?
Ms. Tolman, you're being very general. You'd have to be specific when you say somebody's life is in, we're not looking to shoot anybody that walks in the building. So I'm just not sure exactly what the situation you are referring to.
As was said in Uvalde, there was a lack of charge, leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have, who's going to take leadership? The armed security guard? Does that person have the decision at that moment to use the gun if they felt necessary?
In that situation, yes. I mean, we just want to be specific, and you say if there's a threat, right? Like there's a whole range of things, in an active shooter situation, yes. You know what I mean? If they see a stranger coming on campus, armed security is supposed to contact the regular district security and let them know about a situation. But if there's an active shooter threat and bullets are flying or somebody pulls out a gun, the armed security has that authority to do so, to respond. It was, they were chosen pursuant to a public bid. There was a notice in the local newspapers, and they submitted a bid, and we evaluated their credentials. The Board of Education interviewed them, following interviews by our cabinet and our Director of Security. An exact number is difficult because it depends on how many night and night and weekend events we use them for, because those are a la carte, those are extra. But we're budgeting, I mean, this year we're halfway through, so it's less, but next year's budget will probably be in the ballpark of $750,000. Yeah, I think that they're supposed to be here an hour before school ends, an hour after, but that doesn't include the select night and weekend events. Other questions from the Board of Education? Yes.
I have a bunch, but I'll just go to that last one. I assume this is money or funds that will be added to next year's budget?
Yeah. I'm sorry, say again?
Which will be added to next year's budget for approval of public vote?
Yes, yeah. How the budget process works is that the administration, in conjunction with the Board of Education, crafts the budget for the following year. They present it to the Board of Education in February and March and April. The Board of Education votes to adopt the budget. That vote sends it to a public vote on the third Tuesday in May. Yes, sir. Uh,
Discussion or consideration by the board to protecting the schools in a way that does not involve armed security guards.
Well, sure. As I mentioned, this is just one piece of the puzzle. We have non-armed security during the day as well. So this is a supplement. I mean, there's a lot of other things that, you know, we have enhanced security cameras. We're putting out here, for example, we have a security booth that will be put in. So, I mean, those are other things that we're doing. We will look at other things as well. I think we're going to have automatic door locks, potentially. You know, we look at whatever else is possible. The vestibules is something that's been recommended by law enforcement. It's been installed in 2 buildings. We're hoping it'll happen in the rest. And then some of the most important things could be the simplest things, by making sure that every door in the building is locked. And that's a very important thing. And we've certainly cracked down on that. This campus is a little different than others. As you can see, it's an enormous building. You know, we have hundreds and hundreds, probably 100 doors. You know, so, you know, they do open during the day a bit. So, you know, we'll have 2 armed guards here for a little extra protection. That's why we also have the security booth that we're going to install, which is grant funded.
For the school districts on Long Island that do not do armed guards, did you speak to them about the reasoning for not doing that, and what do they do to keep their schools safe without using armed security guards?
They do some of the things we do, but not all. I think a lot have recently installed vestibules. Not everybody has some of the things we already have. And it's not as if they have made a decision not to do armed guards, right? Like, if the board decides to move forward with this plan, I fully expect that you will see many districts follow suit. I mean, this is something that we've considered in the past, and the board wasn't ready to go down that road. I think that, you know, probably the spate of incidents that we've seen recently and the continued trend in this has, you know, as well as, you know, composition of the board changes from time to time. So it causes us to reevaluate things. And I think in particular was the fact that there's not a second to waste. There have been 150 school shootings since 2018. There were 51 school shootings with injuries or deaths last year alone, which was the most in any year since they began tracking, at least Education Week began tracking in 2018. There were 35 in 2021, 10 in 2020, 24 in 2019, and 2018. And so obviously this is the trend not going in the right direction, and the board is considering this because it's an enhancement. And whether it's in response to something that actually happens or hopefully a deterrent effect. Yeah.
Do you think the right thing to do here is to have this kind of vote for this series of proposal at 9:45 at night, as opposed to having a special meeting where members of the school can come, students can come, and their voices be heard? It seems a little odd that this is on the agenda after a whole ceremony where this room was filled up with people, and then the room clears out, and now the school board is going to take action on a pretty serious proposal in the middle of the night. It's not the middle of the night, but it's pretty much the middle of the night for the school community.
I mean, it is a serious proposal. I certainly, you know, wish that the room was filled. I can't control that. We've had rooms filled when people want to fill the room. The one thing I'll tell you is that the public knows how to reach us when they want to. When we had a consideration many years ago to eliminate middle school sports, there wasn't a seat left in the room, and I had 500 plus emails. We had a bond proposal a couple of years ago. There was a lot of people in the room, a lot more than this. And, you know, our email boxes were filling up. When we had a decision to reopen schools in COVID, there were a lot of people in the room. So sometimes the absence of people often the absence of people indicates that they're comfortable with the Board of Education and that they have trust in you. We have a budget of $195 million, and during the budget season, we may have 1 or 2 residents there. And does that indicate apathy? Probably to a certain extent, yes. Do we think that's like a very important community decision, and would we love to see many more people there? Yes. But we understand that people are busy. That's why we live stream our meetings. The live stream does get a lot of views. You know, we got emails over the week, but this is not the only time that we've discussed this. In fact, this was our earlier meeting in January. That was the public meeting in which we unveiled this, and Dr. D'Elia made his recommendation to the Board of Education, and that was when it was open to everyone. We only had one person speak, and this is open to everyone too, but that was the community forum. That meeting began at 7:30. There was very little else on the agenda, and we had one speaker. So we have to draw conclusions from how many people show up and how many people speak. If people were opposed to this policy, I think you'd see the room filled. People generally are driven by opposition to things. When they want to come oppose something, they will. I know that. I was the town attorney for the town of Huntington for 4 years. When somebody was mad at something, you knew about it. You would get hundreds of emails, and there wouldn't be a spot in town hall. My sense is that 70% of the community probably supports this. That would be my guess from going through this issue throughout the year. It's been communicated with teachers, been communicated with administrators, been communicated through our PTA leadership, our PTA president for all of the units, and our individual PTA units. We did see a flurry of activity this week, which I think was as a result of a story in the Long Islander and also posted on the Huntington Now, but that wasn't the only story. The Long Islander actually ran an article several months ago, and I think we received one response to it. Sometimes, if this was an issue 5 years ago, I think there'd be a lot more opposition. As you can see by any of the social issues in our country, right? Like, times change and feelings and feelings shift throughout a lot of the changes that we made. No matter what social issue you want to take, things have changed throughout, and I think public opinion on this issue has probably changed. And I do know that other districts have been talking about it. I have friends on other Board of Educations. You know, there are members of those districts who support it. Maybe they don't have a majority of the board now. Maybe they will after this. Maybe they won't. Maybe their residents will start to contact them and say, why aren't you doing what South Huntington's doing? Maybe not, but you know, each community, that's the beauty of a school board, right? Each board represents their community, and each community has different values. You know, there's 100-something school districts on Long Island, and they're all kind of unique in their own right. Other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take one more. I mean,
Just the last one. You stated before 70%?
that's my sense. I haven't done a poll, but
So just for the record, I haven't heard one fact here. I've heard a lot of feeling, a lot of thoughts. We all have feelings and thoughts. Those of us in a position of power, of governance, board, oversight, that's not what we can use in international decisions to drive any organization. The only thing I heard was you said 7%, but that turns out that I was feeling too. I do wish there was more facts in that sentence.
yeah, I mean, I have to disagree with you. I think it's a fact that each second that you wait, you'll lose another life. I think that is a fact.
That wasn't the question, that wasn't the comment, that wasn't what you said.
I'm just giving my sense after 20 years on the Board of Education. I think I have a good reading of the community and knowing what issues generates community attention or community disapproval. You know, and I do draw a conclusion from the amount of people in the room, because no matter what, we have had meetings that went to 1 in the morning, and people still wanted to speak. So it's not particularly late. People could have stayed if they wanted to, or they could have came if they wanted to, or they could have written us more emails than I think the 10 that I read out. I think that they trust the wisdom of the elected Board of Education to represent them. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, comments by board members on this resolution? Just share a thought of my own. As I mentioned, you know, there's been an upswing in this. You know, oh, yes, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Attorney, yeah.
As I sit here and I listen, there has to be an understanding that the process that we have as a Board of Trustees was not a decision that we made overnight. As our president mentioned, we had a meeting a month ago, well, shorter than a month, but this is an issue that we've been discussing for over a year and probably beyond that. And as a father with 2 children in the district, I don't think any of our members here looked at this decision as one that was easy to take. We all had collective discussions and deliberations over many days and many meetings about this. It was not something that we reached in any way that was formulaic or easy. It comes with great consternation. It comes with great empathy and a thorough review of as many facts as we could provide each other to reassure us that we were in the right position to make a choice that was beyond what some may feel gave gravitas to the whole community. It did. It was a collective effort, and it was not easy in no shape or form. It was not easy, and a decision like this could never be easy. I believe we all represent a demographic that grew up that didn't have metal detectors, that didn't have such security measures that we could go to school freely. And we all reminisce and think about those times. And this is how could I say, a new environment that we live in. And so how do we address modernity in society where we're faced with decisions that there is no precedence for? And so my contribution to this discussion is that understand the human element from our perspective, that we weigh greatly on our consciences of what decisions we took. And we have to stay in a preventive measure in terms of protecting the community as best as we can to respect our duty to the community. And I just add that it was a tough decision. And we hope and we decide based upon our expertise that we provide our community with the best possible information, the most thorough preparation, the most widespread conversations with experts on all levels in regards to this. And we came up with the decision that we were able to make for the community and do it with the best of our intentions at heart. And I will end there and I will say I really appreciate the voices that came in opposition to this, because I think we need to continue to have a robust conversation. It's always a part of what the school board does. And we do thank you for your time here and your participation. And I'll end it.
Thank you, Mr. Joyner. Anyone else on the board? Yes, Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha Regalado. I know you were saying something about the student voice. That's kind of what my purpose is here. So a lot of my questions were kind of touched upon already by the board, but I've had several discussions with a lot of students and teachers among the schools already about this since the last meeting. And while some students do say that they would feel safer with the implementation of armed security, a lot of students and some other teachers do also feel that it kind of violates that theory of feeling safer, and it violates the belief that school is supposed to be a welcoming and nurturing environment where you wouldn't even have to think about that, I guess. I understand that we live in a different world and that it is an unfortunate truth that we're faced with, but like in any conversation, both sides are being viewed, where some students feel it kind of takes away from the student environment and the safe environment that's supposed to be proposed by school, while others do feel, and I know I've talked to also parents about this, some parents say that they would feel safer with their students having armed security outside the school, but some students also feel like that safe environment is kind of being stripped from them with this implementation. I know some other people in the audience are saying that and agreeing with the fact that some believe that resources should be better allocated towards mental health and other protective measures that don't involve the use of firearms, in addition to the Northwell Health implementation. Since these traumatic incidents are usually a response from emotional distress or mental distress, and it's typically a result from a student on the inside, it's usually not an outside threat. While it can be, and I recognize that, usually it is a problem from the inside. You already spoke on security guards being trained and that they are retired police officers, so that question's been answered already. And I guess the other question that most students and teachers did have, I know was already addressed by someone in the audience as well, about whether or not these armed security guards would be able to respond in a situation of an emergency, or if they would have to wait for a phone call. Because like Mr. Callahan was saying, that's also like what a lot of the parents were saying when I was talking to them. They kind of referenced Uvalde a lot, and how there were armed security guards or police officers outside, but they couldn't actually do anything. So I guess the main concern is if this is going to take place and this is going to be implemented, will these security guards actually be able to do anything, or are they going to be sitting idly waiting for authority? But I guess you answered that already as well. So yeah, so that's basically what I'm hearing among schools and teachers.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you. Appreciate your comments and remarks. Other comments by board members? Anyone else? All right, want to vote? All right, we'll take a vote to adopt Board of Education policy number 3411 regarding unlawful possession of a weapon and the amendments to such policy. Motion. Oh, we did a motion already, sorry. It was a while ago. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Board policy is adopted, and that brings us to a companion resolution, which is a motion to award armed guard services to upfront security associates. So I'll take a motion on that. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Joyner, Mr. Scragg, and Mr. Piangasso, and Ms. Meyer. And the other resolution only amended the policy to potentially allow contracting with armed guard security. This next resolution authorizes a bid award and authorizes the Board of Education president to execute an agreement with upfront security associates for armed guard services. Questions by the Board of Education? At this point, I might as well introduce, we do have members of upfront security associates with us today in the audience. If you want to just introduce yourselves.
Phil Brady, President of Upfront Security Associates, who folks who work relationship with South Huntington School District and the community, and the folks who giving full security to the students and staff members and Mike Schmidt, Vice President of Upfront Security. We appreciate the opportunity to have another level of security.
If you could speak a little louder. I know you don't have a microphone, but.
Matt McCart, Vice President of Upfront Security Associates. Look forward to working with the community, students, board, all faculty on the welcome, any questions, anybody, and we want to feel welcome on all hands and want to keep this district, this whole community secure.
And what is, while you're, what is your each of your backgrounds?
I have 29 years police officer, 3 years military, retired. I was 21 years on the tactical team for National Security. 27 years police officer, 7 years in the city, 20 National Security. Currently 28 years in Nassau County Police Sergeant. Current, trained in active shooter, formerly of NYPD. 30 years,
And I think it was also important to mention, one of the things that you guys offer was supervisory experience on site, correct? And can you just explain how that would work?
We implemented a mobile patrol vehicle that will go around, Billy would be driving around to assist any issues that might occur, giving another individual at that location if there is an incident.
Okay, great, thank you. The board have any questions for up front? All right, any further comments? Yes, Ms. Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. And I just would like to echo, what Mr. Joyner shared, that although the official vote is taking place this evening, and we have a gentleman from security here, that I know I speak for myself, but for most of the board members, all of the board members as well, in that there has been so much time and deliberation put into this decision, and many of the studies and reports that have been thoughtfully shared by our community members we have seen previous to the communications that were shared with us. As Mr. Joyner said, this is a decision we wish didn't even have to be on our radar, and we all, of course, want the best for every single person in our community, students, educators, residents alike. So while the official vote is taking place tonight, please know that we have pored over every report, every piece of information that we could get our hands on. We have had the opportunity to ask questions of professionals with far more knowledge and expertise than we hold as individuals, and that we do feel that we are making an informed decision this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer. And as you said, the Board of Education cannot have any expertise in every single area. That's why we have a superintendent. That's why we hire a director of facilities for facilities. That's why we hire a director of security. And, we rely on that information. We rely on that expertise. The Board of Education has met pretty much every meeting with that director of security to discuss his thoughts on the security of the district. We've given him great latitude to make adjustments as he sees fit, and we've relied on his wisdom and recommendations to reach this point today, and it was his recommendation to move forward in this area. And that is, that's something obviously that was very important to us, because if you hire an expert and you pay that expert, you need to listen to that expert's opinion. Any other comments by board members? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Resolution is carried unanimously, 6-0. Ms. LaCara is out of town, by the way, so vote only 6 board members tonight. Moving on to next item of new business is the adoption of another revised board policy, 3220. This is regarding public participation at board meetings. Is there a motion? Ms. Meyer, second. Mr. Bronson. Mr. Bronson, you want to talk about it?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. So this policy we revised covers 2 different things. Number 1, the intent is to expand the ability for individuals to speak at these meetings. So right now, you have to be a resident, but we've actually expanded it to include property owners as well as businesses in the district, as they're all taxpayers. And again, as everybody said tonight, we do welcome the input of others. The other aspect is, as Mr. Ciapetta mentioned, there are times in the past where this room has been filled to capacity, and in order to give everybody an opportunity to speak, the policy gives the ability to impose a time limit that someone could basically speak for a period of time and then give others an opportunity to speak beforehand, just to give everybody a fair opportunity. I think as everybody who knows in this district, we're very open. The intent is not to use that very often. As you saw tonight, we gave everybody an opportunity to speak as much as they wanted to speak. And I think that's really the go-forward position. But it is a change to the policy just in case. Again, we have a room full of people, and we want to have the ability just to give everybody an opportunity to speak. In that case, we would impose a time limit. So with those changes to the policy, it's been circulated amongst the board, amongst the various constituents. Seems to be comfort level in the policy. Any questions were addressed at the time, so I now put it before this board to hopefully enact the policy.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. Thank you for your work in particular on this policy. Even though we don't have a formal policy committee anymore, you took the lead on it, and I thank you for working with our district lawyers on this policy, as well as the previously adopted policy, so I appreciate that. Board, have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item number 4 is resolution for a memorandum of agreement with the South Huntington Safety Officers Unit. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. After collective bargaining meetings with UPSU and our safety officers, we have this memorandum of agreement for the Board of Education's approval. As you discussed before, these are our maroon coats. These are our safety officers that are a respected group that support the safety of our school buildings, mostly during the daytime. This memorandum speaks to a 4-year contract that will expire July 1st, 2026.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Smith. This issue has previously been discussed in executive session. Are there any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, MOU is adopted. Moving on to item number 5 is a budgetary transfer. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg and Mr. Biangasso. This is a budgetary transfer in the amount of $498,000 due to an increase in interest rates for our tax anticipation notes. Dr. Senimore, can you give us some more background on this?
Sure. During the budget development process, we look at historical trends when we budget for interest rates. After the budget development process, there was a very large spike in the interest rates, particularly as it relates to tax anticipation notes. This is something that's unique to Suffolk County because we get our tax revenue close to the holiday or the start of the new year, and so there's a borrowing process that occurs, and because of that large spike post-budget development process, we're seeking your approval for this transfer.
Thank you, Dr. Senimore. Board have any questions on this? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item number 6 is there's a request for an impartial hearing officer, resolution to appoint one. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Joyner. This matter was discussed in executive session, and we received a due process complaint, and that requires the appointment of a hearing officer for an impartial hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new item number 7, which contains many, many, many items of new courses for approval. Motion. Mr. Brunson, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Dr. Murphy, you got a lot here.
29 in total, to be exact. So,
wow.
With the board's approval of a 9-period day and also just our revamping of curriculum, we met with a lot of teachers, department chairs, and high school personnel and decided to revamp some of our core courses. We are adding 29 new courses to our caseload, or course loads, for students, ranging in all 4 core subjects as well as elective areas. And this is in addition, this will be useful in the addition of a 9-period day.
This is awesome. I want to re-enroll to take these. These are great. So just some of them are, you want to go through some select ones, or?
I mean, really, honestly, I'm excited about a lot of our CTL, our content courses. We're bringing back our auto mechanics and revamping our robotics and engineering programs, bringing American Sign Language, so we're adding more diversity within our world language programs. One of the things that we notice with a lot of our students graduating or going into college for physics and or computer engineering, we've added a lot more courses that deal with application of computer science. That is a growing field within not only the country, but also a post-secondary field of study. So that is some of just a hint of some of the things to come in Whitman's schedules and course requests.
Cool. You've got Everyone Can Dance as a course. I don't think everyone can dance. I'm a good example.
I will never dance, I'm sorry. But no, that's also kind of fun because kids that aren't really apt to physical education, they actually are able to take that course for physical education credit, which is something nice.
And what is Patient Zero?
That's all about diseases, and that is like one of the coolest ones. It talks about historically global diseases, everything from Spanish flu to COVID, and how the spread and how diseases spread even faster because of 21st century technology. So it really goes back in time to everything starting from the bubonic plague all the way up to the Spanish flu and COVID.
Right, tackling topics big and small. The history of the earth, that's a big one. So thank you to our curriculum committee members, Ms. LaCara, Chair, and members Mr. Bronson and Mr. Joyner for sifting through all these and bringing us really exciting courses. It's a good time to be a student of Walden High School. Any questions on the courses?
Not a question, but just a thank you to Dr. Murphy and Dr. Steele and all the members of the curriculum committee. As you mentioned, I'm on the committee. I'm new this year to it, and it's just I'm on a number of committees, but I'm always very impressed with all the good work that the curriculum committee is doing this year. Again, I echo you. There's many courses I wish I could have taken when I was in school. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. Okay. Request for approval of new course? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. And as you can see, we have a lot of, very active committees, and they do a lot of our groundwork for us and bring us a lot of information to the Board of Education. Moving on to new business, item number 8 is the approval of a attendance, board and cabinet attendance at a conference. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. This is a conference that will be held on Thursday at the Hilton, Long Island, from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m., and we're going to hear from New York State Controller Thomas DiNapoli, so that should be very worthwhile. I think what he'll say is that the state's in pretty good shape for this year. Next year might be a little dicier as some federal money runs out, though the state is doing extremely well in their returns from online gambling, sports gambling, as well as anticipated significant revenue coming from the legalization of cannabis. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business, item number 9 is the approval for attendance of a board member at the National School Board Association Conference in Orlando, Florida in April. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business, item number 10 is the approval of an overnight field trip for the DECA Annual State Career Conference. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Dr. Murphy?
Yes, this is their annual trip. This is DECA, one of our Business Honor Society organizations. They do an annual trip to Rochester for their state competition. Those students that perform well at the state will usually go, or will go to the national level, which is usually in Nashville, Tennessee, in the coming months. So this is just their first hurdle to see who would be qualified for the national competition.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 11, which is approval of recommendations by the Committee on Special Education, the Committee on Preschool Special Education, various dates listed in October, December, and January. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Joyner. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. And moving on to new business, item number 11 is the approval to attend the Longwoods 19th Annual Regional Legislative Breakfast. Is there a motion? Mr. Joyner, seconded by Mr. Bronson. And this is for a legislative conference scheduled for February 4th at Saturday, 8:30 a.m., bright and early. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, we've completed our new business tonight. We're moving on to personnel. We have personnel schedules 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 16, 17, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson and Ms. Meyer. Any questions on personnel? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, information and reports are listed. Speaking of committees, we have a committee report from the Facilities Committee. The Facilities Committee met on January 17th. I know it's late, but there was a lot discussed, so I do want to give some updates. We were ahead of the curve on this one, but now required by New York State law, we're moving forward with the construction of lactation rooms in each building for nursing mothers, and that's progressing nicely. Hope to have that done soon. The park outside of the James Cade Administrative Offices is pretty much complete, which has a canopy, some benches, and bocce courts right now. You never know, maybe it'll expand, and we're going to be officially dedicating doing a ribbon cutting and dedicating that. It's named, as the board previously approved, for former District Superintendent Dr. Dave Bernardo. Waldman High School Art Gallery update, not much. It's scheduled to be built outside this Performing Arts Center. It's kind of been stalled due to weather issues. We hope to get that moving. We discussed the completion of vestibules, which we talked about in the security presentation, and we're also adding construction at the James Caden Administrative Offices as we have classes of students there as well, so that we have vestibules at each building where there are students. Previously approved project, Waltman High School bleachers, stadium, drainage, and comfort station. We discussed that and the design for that. And then we discussed the projects that the committee is going to recommend for board approval during the budget process. And if you recall, last year we developed a 7-year capital plan to kind of guide us in these projects, and these projects are really very faithful to that. So, board reviewed that last year, and so pretty much we followed very closely to that. We do need an additional $1 million, though, for the bleachers. Like everything else, the cost of things are going up. There's the cost of the comfort station that was originally planned in phase 2, so we have that in there. The comfort station is another word for a bathroom, and there'll be 4 single stall restrooms built so that our parents and guests don't have to either use a porta potty or try to go into the building after hours. I mentioned the cost of the vestibule. The only change, the Marine Bio Lab, that was originally scheduled for over $2 million cost. We've reduced that in half, so we do want to recommend that to move forward. And the only change from our 7-year plan for this year was we originally had a new athletic turf field outside. The committee is recommending that we do revise and renovate the fitness center in Walden High School, as we felt that that would touch more students, and it's also at a lesser cost right now because we are trying to bring down for this year a little bit our transfer to capital budget line. Last year it was 4.2 million. We're hoping to get it down around 3.5 million. So those are the projects that the committee will be recommending, and they'll be part of the budget process and discussed during that time. Questions from the board? Okay. Future meetings are listed. We have only one meeting in February. That's February 15th. That's when we're going to start the budget process by doing a budget overview. Was there a comment? Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you're stretching. I thought somebody wanted to speak. And then we have regular meetings every 2 weeks in March as we continue to develop the budget. We're still waiting for our state aid numbers. We haven't heard anything from Albany on that. As Dr. D'Elia mentioned last time, we had the state of the state. It was light on education details, and so we continue to await news. Those state aid runs are like opening a present on Christmas morning. Comments by board members? Mr. Scragg.
First, I want to congratulate our Birchwood and Maplewood students on an excellent play production that they had 2 weeks ago. So I want to thank Mr. Swolitsky for working with those students over the fall. They did an incredible job, and my son was in one of the plays, and I told him when I was 10 years old, I would not have had the guts to stand in front of 500 people and perform. So, they just did a wonderful job, and I'm just proud that our district supports the arts in that way. I also want to thank Dr. D'Elia and Dr. Centimore, our Director of Security, Richard Karlstrom, and the Board of Education trustees for all the work that was done to bring armed security to our district. As my fellow board members mentioned, this wasn't a decision that was made lightly. It was a decision that was made at length, over many meetings, over many months. And as a parent of 2 children in this district, I would like to say that I wish the world was a much different place than it is, and that this discussion and decision did not have to be made. But after weighing all the options, as was discussed, I know that this is another step in the right direction. In partnership with everything else we're doing, our wellness committee works to implement a social emotional learning curriculum. We have a partnership with Northwell Health. So I just want to once again thank our district for being proactive in holistically approaching the health and safety of our children at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Scragg, and thank you for adding the Wellness Committee. That's very important. I know you serve on that with Ms. Meyer, who's the chair of that. That is something new that we added this year. We've also asked our student ex officio board member, Ms. Regalado, to have a seat on that. So that is yet another thing that we're doing, and obviously that committee takes on greater urgency in these times in light of the security environment we're in, as well as the impact that the pandemic had on our students. So thank you, Mr. Scragg. Other comments by board members? Okay, I just want to thank all our performers again who were fantastic, from Anthony Marabelli, jazz pianist, to our own Samantha Regalado, to the Stimson Middle School singers and the national anthem. I think it was a nice mix of musical performances with our speeches. Dr. D'Elia.
This is the second year, there's no excuse for
I
that.
know, no excuse.
Hey, real quickly, I would like to congratulate Walt Whitman High School on their recent niche.com rankings, moving from number 6 out of 66 high schools in Suffolk to number 5. So I want to congratulate Mr. Costa, his team, all the teachers and staff at Walt Whitman High School. We swapped spots with Cold Spring Harbor. Well deserved, and congratulations for all the hard work. Thank you.
That's it?
That was really good news.
Okay. No, that's good. Okay.
It was succinct and robust.
Yes, I know.
Trust me, I know that definition.
I'm trying to figure that out still, so.
Dr. Senamore is the expert on succinct and robust.
All right. Samantha, comments? Any other additional comments?
So hi again. I just have a couple of things to say. Going back to the course requests, I just want to touch on a few that I think are really just great and that I feel like will make a big difference. I think even the Wall Street investment elective is just great. I feel like the virtual enterprise kids will have a blast with that. I feel like it'll definitely be very popular. I think it's great that students can now get PE credit with the Everyone Can Dance class, because apparently everyone can dance. So hopefully that ends up being great as well. I love there's a lot of computer science electives like web design. I would have loved to take these. Unfortunately, I don't get to take any of these anymore. Music production definitely will be loved by students who take part in the Whitman Collective. And even senior experience is a great opportunity for internships. So I definitely do see all these electives as very beneficial. So hopefully they all get returned. I know some students did talk to me personally about how they would like more crime-based classes, I guess, because I know we have crime and forensics, but maybe looking forward, we can get some more classes around that kind of theme. I also just want to congratulate everybody in Follies. Follies was great. It was hilarious. I think it was a really fun night where students got to showcase their talent and how funny it can be and get to poke fun at a lot of the things that our teachers do. So it was very funny and just a really good time. And the musical is coming up. They're doing The Wizard of Oz. That's going to be taking place on March 24th and 25th. So that'll definitely be a really good time. You have to come and support everybody. Everybody's very talented. It'll be amazing. I can promise you that. And then also, I just want to commemorate the Southington Instagram. I know that there's been an On the Sidelines feature recently, and I think this has been really great as well. I'm really glad to see that every sport is getting their chance of being demonstrated and recognized, and that individual students are also being recognized for their hard work. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to share tonight.
Great, thank you, Samantha. Look forward to The Wizard of Oz as well. This should be a great production. Comments by residents, voice of the residents. Anyone else like to address the Board of Education? All right. With that, I think that's it. I want to congratulate Dr. D'Elia and his team. One of his goals, I know, was to bring up our rankings, and he is following through on that, so congratulations. Number 5 is good, excellent, actually, and we look forward to moving up further, so congratulations to all. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight. I know it was a long night, and a lot of important business happened today, and appreciate you being with us and everyone who spoke on all of these issues. So thank you. Take a motion to adjourn. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Joyner. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Good evening.